Hello and welcome to the Horsemanship and Mindset podcast with your host, Kimberly Dunn of Idlewild Horsemanship and Mindset Coaching. This podcast is here to bring you the very best in tips, tricks, and advice to help you better understand yourself, your mindset, and your horse, because your horsemanship starts with you. Let's go. Hello, welcome back to the Horsemanship and Mindset podcast. I am your host, Kim. I'm very happy to have you here, wherever you are listening from in the world. I hope this episode finds you well. Welcome along. Let's dive into today's episode. So, I had a message from an old client and regular listener of the podcast with today's suggestion for the episode, and it kind of got me thinking. I did a bit of a deep dive on it, and it is the result of today's episode, so thank you for that. So we're going to be talking today about something that completely changes the quality of your riding and your training when you really start understanding it and you're working with your horse. And this is the idea that riding and lunging your horse are not just walk, trot, and canter both ways. Round and round and round in circles. Change the rein, round and round and round in circles, where you're doing real kind of tick box riding, where you're just thinking about burning off the energy, where you're thinking about having sweaty saddle pads, making the horse tired. Because the thing is, a lot of riders, or if you're doing groundwork, just equestrians in general, without meaning to, get stuck in this quote unquote doing mode instead of communication mode, instead of working with your horse and with the horse that you have on the day, rather than, right, okay, today I need to do this, this, and this, bosh. Because when you are in that doing mode, what happens is horses generally will stop learning and will just start coping and either just kind of rehearsing the same thing over and over again, whether that is a behaviour that you want or don't want, and then just surviving the session. So both of you are just surviving it. So you're both kind of just doing it for the sake of getting it done and ticking a box, rather than actually real communication going on, real understanding, real learning, real trust, real progress. So today, my hope is that you will finish this podcast feeling a little differently about how horses actually learn, why pauses and processing really, really matters. And I would say it matters way more than you ticking a box to say you've done whatever in that day. How your awareness changes everything, and how you can create calmer, more connected sessions for you and for your horse. So if you're able to take notes, take notes. And if you want to listen to this episode a couple of times, please do, because I think you're going to find it really helpful. So let's dive in. Now, one of the most important things that I want you to understand is that horses learn through association and through release. We're not obviously speaking the same language. Horses' brains don't process the same as ours. We can't speak to them. We can't explain things to them. We are trying to get some kind of some kind of dialect going between us. And, they can't understand what we're saying. So we have to then change up how we do it. So we are going to use association and release, not this endless repetition. So your horse's brain is constantly asking what brings comfort, what creates pressure, and what is going to help me find safety or relief. They're not in it to be like, oh yes, today I would like to learn how to do the perfect jump over a crossbar. That's not what they go into the arena thinking. They're generally probably thinking about where their friends are, when their next meal is, when they can chill out next. And so we have to kind of help work with that. We also want to be looking to create a nice little dopamine release for our horses as well, because that is what's really going to help you create fun in what you're doing with your horse. So when we endlessly repeat things and drill things without pause, without clarity and release, then your horse can stop processing things properly. And this is where you as riders, or a lunger, can accidentally end up just drilling your horse rather than actually teaching, rather than actually making progress. So I've talked about this in a podcast before about lunging. And if we think about lunging, for instance, you send your horse out. The idea is you want to tire your horse out usually. And you either go out there and you just send them around you, and they're running around and their nose is turned to the outside of the circle. They're not paying attention to you. There's no communication going on. They're just running. And that isn't creating... It's not educating your horse. It's not helping your horse to progress. It's literally just wearing them out, and there is zero communication going on in that moment. Same as if you send them out on the lunge and they're in side reins. I'm not even going to get started on side reins today. But again, there's not real relaxation, communication, or there's not that conversation going on between you both. Now, excuse the dog. We've got windows open because it's really hot here, and so now she can hear when any other dog or any other person makes any noise and likes to shout, which is unfortunate when I'm trying to record a podcast. So apologies for that. We'll carry on and we'll see if we can continue. So. Sometimes the most powerful moment in a session is actually the pause. And it can be the pause after the session, or it can be the pause throughout the session where you've just done something and you stop and wait. And I remember when I first got into Western riding and was introduced to this total radical thing, which was stopping in between doing everything, because I'd been stuck in kind of the old school classical English way, which was do. And, and that would be when I ride, but also when I was teaching lessons, you've got to keep going, you've got to keep moving, do this, do that, do this, do that. And whatever you do, you don't want to be stopping. If you stop, that means your horse is going to want to stay stopped. And then I switched to Western, and suddenly there were so many pauses in there. And I was like, oh my God, what is this weird concept? But actually, the standing still, the breathing, the moment of a breath out from you and from your horse, that is when your horse gets to mentally process, that was the answer. Okay? That's when their nervous system can settle, and they are going to learn so much more from that than the other would from do. And the same goes for you. So something else that I think is really, really important in understanding when we think about our horses learning is that it can't happen efficiently, if at all, by the way, when your horse's nervous system is overloaded. And this is the same for us. And I've spoken about this before, and I'm going to talk about it again now because it's really, really important. If your horse is highly stressed, if they are over threshold, if they are shut down, hypervigilant, or emotionally flooded, their ability to process information decreases massively. And I mean massively. And you see this all the time. You see it when someone's trying to get a horse over a jump. You see it when someone's trying to get their horse to leave the yard out for a hack or a trail ride. You see it when someone's trying to teach their horse something, I don't know, like a lateral movement, and they're just not getting it. It's because they're overloaded. You can't get them to make progress like this. You can force them into a situation where they have to suddenly rush through the thing. But I'm telling you now, they won't have a good experience doing it. They won't associate it with being a good experience. And you're going to run into the same problem again and again if you do not let them relax, wow, I'm getting passionate about this. If you do not let them relax and come down so they can actually learn it and then retain that information because they are relaxed. And it's the same for us. It's exactly the same for us. Think about those lessons that you've been in with a shouting instructor that's been stressing you out and you've been doing something that you're a little worried about. It's the same thing. If you get through it, you get through it by the skin of your teeth and you don't then think of it as a good experience. And generally, you're going to run into the same problem again and again. Whereas if you have an instructor or a coach who is calm, who explains something to you thoroughly, who breaks it down, and then you do the thing, the experience is totally different and you move away from it in a totally different way. So, right, what was the next thing I was going to talk about? So, this is why slowing down will improve learning dramatically for you and for your horse. More awareness, more pauses, better timing, less chasing, less do, and more BBB. Sounds like a bit of song practice or something. Okay, so one of the best things that equestrians, whether you're riding, whether you're on the ground, whether you're working your horse, quote unquote, whether you're turning them out, bringing them in, whatever you're doing, one of the best things you can do with your horse is to become an observer instead of a doer. Okay, so instead of thinking, I must get through my session plan, I must do this, this, and this, tick, 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 tick. Because if I don't do this, then I failed, we failed, we're behind, etc. That's a whole other mindset thing. But thinking of it that way, what about asking instead, okay, how is my horse feeling today? What are they communicating right now? Are they communicating with me or are they totally distracted and unable to communicate with me right now? What changed when I softened there? What changed when I took a breath? What changed when I paused? Did my horse understand that? Are they holding tension anywhere? Are they mentally with me or mentally elsewhere? What happens if I pause for 30 seconds here? Sometimes we can be so focused on achieving whatever movement it is that you want to do, whatever it is you're doing, that you miss the horse that you're working with entirely. We forget that they're not robots. They are, in fact, animals. And we are actually communicating with them or trying to communicate with them in a totally different language than they actually understand. I think sometimes as humans, we forget the magic of training an animal and we just start to expect things to happen. We get annoyed or frustrated with our horses or our animals in general, like this goes the same for dogs. You know, we forget that actually the fact that we are able to train something and communicate with them in certain ways is actually really flipping magical. And we're crossing that boundary into being able to work with and communicate with another animal of a totally different species. And we so often just take that for granted. So what about if we remember that and we work on helping our horses to understand things rather than trying to make our horses do things? And horses will tell us so much when we actually slow down enough to notice, when we stop focusing on, ticking those boxes. And just another note on this kind of observing thing is observing your horse's body language, because that's another thing that isn't thought of or done enough, and all horses are different, just as all humans are different. Like, when was the last time you stopped to notice what your horse looks like in their body language when they're calm? When was the last time you stopped to notice how your horse responds when they're stressed or when they don't understand something, when they're worried? And how did you help your horse to start to relax, and what did that look like? Because they're all different. Some of them are more sensitive than others. Some have had different life experiences than others, which means that they respond in different ways to different things. Taking the time to notice that is everything for your horse. Okay, Mavis is back from security guard duty. So she's looking at me like, what? What is your problem? My problem is, Mavis, that I'm trying to record a podcast. Okay, so let's now look at lunging. So I have recorded a whole episode on this because it is something that kind of bugs me a bit. But I'm going to include this today because I really want to be like thinking about us slowing down and noticing things. And this is part of it. It's something I see a lot whenever I'm going to different places to teach. So let's think about lunging. Lunging is not, underline several times, is not just send your horse around in a circle until they're tired, until they're sweaty, until they're puffed out, until they stop running. Right. Lunging or circle work with your horse, I much prefer to call it circle work because I'm trying to really come away from the whole mindset of lunging. So it can be a really, really great place to observe your horse, to observe how they're moving, to observe how they move up and down in different transitions. Bring in loads of transitions to this work, by the way. And I mean loads. It can be a really great place for you to start to think about nervous system regulation. How can you help your horse relax? Communication, thinking about, okay, are they moving around me with an ear on me, with their inside eye on me, or are they flying around with their nose turned out, which is often what I see, and that's the particular thing that bugs me. Think about their posture. How is their posture? Also, think about your own posture. How does your energy and your posture affect the energy of your horse? Think about the rhythm, the cadence, emotional check-ins. Think about how you can practice your pauses, how you can practice releasing and improving the focus and connection between you both. You can learn so much about your horse on the lunge if you stop simply chasing them out, making them move, and getting them to run off their energy, and actually start observing the patterns that are going on and thinking about, okay, how can I get my horse's focus? Not getting frustrated because you don't have it in the first place. How can you get it back? What can you do? And by the way, a top tip, transitions is a good one. And allowing pauses and not just letting them fly around you. Okay. So I want you, again, think about your horse's breathing, their posture, their tension, their expression, their rhythm, where they might be bracing, where they might be struggling, and where they relax. Because again, you observing this, making mental notes of this and practicing it as well, practicing, okay, when they do this, if I do this, this helps them. Doing it, observing it, practicing it, learning. This is going to change your riding massively. And I mean massively. Now, coming back to processing time and those pauses. So again, not every time that when you work your horse, whether you are lunging, whether you are riding, every single second of the session that you spend together does not need filling. You do not need, again, to be going all the flipping time. You are allowed to pause because the pausing is where the processing happens. You don't have to be productive, quote unquote, in the traditional sense of the sweaty saddle blanket, the sweaty horse. I will never forget years ago when I worked for Not Very Nice People, them saying, why are the horses' saddle blankets not sweaty? Well, because I haven't been galloping them around all over the place because I've been working on other things with them. That's why. We need to get away from this sweaty saddle blanket thing. Sometimes, to be productive, actually all the time to be productive, what you actually need is a pause, a walk break, a moment to stand, and the chance to integrate what's happening. So the chance to integrate what they've just learned, what you've just asked of them, maybe to just chill and just come down for a moment because something exciting's happened inside or outside the arena or wherever it is you're hacking. Again, we do not need to be going. We can stop, we can pause, we can allow our horses to relax, we can allow our horses to process, to soak in the information of whatever it is we've just been doing. And honestly, like, how much would you benefit from this too? How much would you benefit from just stopping, taking a breath in and out, going, cool, we just did that? Because that's another thing that can happen to us as well is if we're in this chasing mode, if we're in this mode of needing to just tick these things off on the list, if we do actually do it, we don't then take it in as an achievement, as progress. We just move the goalpost to the next thing. So how about when you let your horse stop to process, you let yourself process it and you give yourself a pat on the back like, we just did that and we did a really good job. That is going to help your confidence too. So there's a little extra bonus for you in doing that. So I hope that was helpful. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I talk about this stuff all the time, and I feel like perhaps some of this is quite repetitive, but I feel like it's something that people need to understand better. Equestrians need to understand all of this stuff better so that we can enjoy our horses, so that we can relax into what we're doing and we can find the joy together again, and so that our horses can enjoy their lives with us too. So I hope this episode encourages you to start becoming more curious during your sessions instead of simply just being really, really busy and a little bit harassed. Because horsemanship isn't about getting the horse to do things. That's not what it's about here. It's about awareness, timing, communication, regulation, and connection, and creating an environment where learning can actually happen, and it can happen in a nice, relaxing way that everybody enjoys. We do not need to be stressed out with this. Now, if this episode resonated with you, I would absolutely love it if you can share this to your Instagram stories. And if you do, give me a little tag there so I see it, or send it to a horsey friend that needs to hear it. And as always, if you would like support with your own mindset, with nervous system regulation and your horse-human connection work, you can find all the ways to work with me in the links below, including the Ride or Cry kit, which is there for equestrians who want to ride calmer, more connected, and just enjoy life with their horses again. I will see you in the next episode. Over and out.